Thank you for all coming today. I know that you guys really enjoyed my dogs, and as a treat, I'm going to give you a 10-minute presentation about my trip to Minnesota. So on this trip, the main reason for going was me and my best friends were all going to different schools, or one of us isn't even going to school, he's going straight to work. So because of this, we thought, well, let's go to Minnesota, get away a little bit, and see what happens. So my 6 best friends and I decided to go to Minnesota, and the reason for the trip is because we wanted to golf and gamble. So obviously golfing makes sense because, you can golf anywhere, and there are a couple really nice courses up in Minnesota we heard about, so we thought it would be a great idea. Also, the legal gambling age in Minnesota is 18, and because we were all 18 at this point, we could go up and gamble, so we thought that would be just awesome, just be able to go golf and gamble for a couple of days. And we are all doing different things this fall. My roommate and I are going to the University of Iowa. He is studying teaching, and I am studying chemistry on a pre-physician assisting track. 3 of my friends are going to the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. So one of them is a criminal justice major, and the other 2 are engineering majors. We have one going to Iowa State as a mechanical engineering major, and then we have another one who is going straight to work, and he's going to be selling boats and RVs for his dad's company. So where we were at in northern Minnesota was actually about an hour away from the Canadian border. So the largest town population where we were, so Duluth is right here, we were staying in Babbitt, and Ellie right here was the largest town population, and that had a population of 3,200 people. So when you think about the biggest city in the northern part of the state, it is just tiny. And there were plenty of lakes, as Minnesota is known as the land of the lakes, and we actually saw multiple lakes throughout our golfing and on the drive up, which I will talk about later. And then the weather was a big surprise to all of us because it was so much colder than what we had planned for. The highs were in the 60s all week. We had all brought t-shirts and shorts thinking we would be just fine, and it really just did not work out very well for us. So the town we stayed in was Babbitt, Minnesota. And I don't know if you can tell by this picture, but that is it. It is, it's tiny. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's got a population of 1,200 people, and it is considered one of the larger towns in northern Minnesota. It is a town in the middle of nowhere, and like a lot of the towns in northern Minnesota, they're spread out, and it's about a 45-minute drive in between all of them. So we could go to Babbitt, Ellie, Bilovic, and Tower, Minnesota within 45 minutes of each other. The high school was the centerpiece of their town, and it was pretty obvious. It was right in the middle of everything in town, and up north they play a lot of hockey. And this is actually a picture of the largest building in their community, which is the ice arena. And we actually stayed in an Airbnb about 200 feet from this ice facility, and it was pretty eye-opening that that is the biggest building that they had in town. There were no big houses, and that kind of took me aback because when I think of the land of lakes, I think of people who have summer homes there. But in Babbitt, it was kind of the opposite. It was more of people who were working class, and the thing is, up there especially, once you see everything, it's kind of hard to figure out how people can make money because there's no logging industry, even though there's one of the most massive forests in North America. No one can touch it because it's under a reserve. and there's not really any businesses besides the stuff in town, such as the bars and the one grocery store, 2 gas stations. And then the one big highlight from Babbitt, Minnesota, in my opinion, even though it was a really small town, not much to do, was the milkman. We had a milkman come every morning and deliver a carton of milk to our house if we paid him a couple of bucks. So I thought that was really cool. I mean, growing up, I always heard from my grandparents about the milkman who came and brought you milk. I witnessed that. All right, so the first golf course that we went to was Giants Ridge. And Giants Ridge is located in Bilowick, Minnesota. So it was about 45 minutes south of Babbitt and about an hour and a half south of Tower, which is the other place that we went to. So Giants Ridge is both a golf and ski resort. So in the summer, they had big golf resorts. They have 2 courses there. They're both very highly ranked. And then in the winter, it turns into the largest ski resort in the state of Minnesota. So the course that we played at Giants Ridge was the Legend. It was probably the most beautiful course I had ever been on, and the highlight of the round was the 17th hole, which is pictured right here. It is all over water from tee to green, and it is a 220-yard hole, so there was a couple people in my group taking out driver to hit that par 3. And that 17th hole is also considered the most photographed hole in Minnesota. So this picture down here is from the other golf course, the Quarry. It's kind of like Bigfoot, it's pretty cool. The Quarry is actually the number 25 ranked golf course in the country, which was really surprising to all of us. And when we got there, unfortunately, the course had taken on a lot of winter damage. They actually had snow down in June. So that course wasn't in nearly as good of condition as the Quarry, so we actually decided to not play that course altogether. But just looking at the pictures of it, I am definitely going to be back sometime in my life. So the other course we played at was Fortune Bay. Fortune Bay is a resort casino owned by an Indian Native American group, and they make a lot of their money off the casino. And for my buddies who did not golf that day, they actually spent 8 hours in the casino. Some of them lost a lot of money, some of them won quite a bit. So it was a pretty crazy experience for them. But the game of choice that we did end up playing was blackjack, because it wasn't a very big casino, obviously. You can't expect that in such a rural area. So they had blackjack as the table games, and then everything else was slots. So of the 7 people in my group, 4 people won and 3 people lost, and one of my friends started with $300 in his wallet, and he walked out of the casino with 40. He had a rough day. But anyways, the Wilderness at Fortune Bay is the golf course, and I thought that the Legend at Giants Ridge from the day before was going to be the best golf course I would experience on the trip, and I was so wrong. This was by far the best course I have ever played in. It was in perfect condition. There was no winter damage anywhere on the course. And the one very unique feature about this course was it featured on almost every hole double fairways, where there was a fairway on the bottom separated by natural rock and then a fairway up on top. So there were a lot of different ways to play the course, which made it really unique in my eyes. And this is a par 3, 120 yards that we had the wind blowing 25 miles an hour in our face at. And one of my buddies hit driver, and actually he was the only one to put it on the green. And then also, one really cool thing that was going on at this course, which I guess kind of goes with the gambling situation, was you could either pay $5 to win $10,000 if you got a hole-in-one on the 17th hole, or you could pay $10 to win $20,000 for the same deal on the 17th hole. So obviously, you know, we're in the gambling future at this point, so everyone went in for the 10 for 20,000. No one won, but it was a really fun experience to get out there and have the pressure on us. So the final part of this trip was the drive home, and this was the most brutal drive of my life. The drive up was about 8 hours, didn't hit much traffic in the Twin Cities, so it was actually pretty nice. But the big issue coming home was that we drilled an accident in the Twin Cities, and actually during this they had an entire lane closed on the highway, and I almost got in an accident myself coming home. But besides the long drive, the picture here really shows what this was all about. I mean, it's just trees everywhere. The national forests were incredible and just so pretty. Pines everywhere, white pines, and oh, it was gorgeous. But that was my trip to Minnesota and back, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. And I'm glad that I brought my dogs here today and persuaded all of you because of that to come